Kale stood near the edge of the forest, his flashlight shaking slightly in his hand. Thick fog rolled over the ground like cold smoke. The night was too quiet. No birds, no wind, just silence and the slow hiss of fog moving across the grass. He heard the sound again, a low, deep growl. It came from the trees. He narrowed his eyes, trying to see through the fog, but all he saw were dark shapes, probably just a stray animal. Kale whispered to himself. He was the only guard at Outpost 17, a forgotten station deep in the woods of Earth 9. His job was boring watching, waiting, checking empty monitors. But tonight felt different. The growl came again, louder now. Kale raised his blaster, just in case. He stepped carefully into the trees, his boots soft against the wet ground. The fog swallowed him as he moved deeper. Then he saw it, a shape, large and low. Hunched under a fallen tree, it was breathing hard. Glowing slightly in the darkness, its fur was silver with streaks of black. Its eyes were big and blue. Kale froze. He had never seen a creature like this before. It looked part cat, part lizard. But its body pulsed with light. One of its front legs was bleeding, a deep wound oozing dark blue fluid. "It's hurt," Kale said, lowering his weapon. The beast looked at him, but didn't move. Its breathing was rough, but it didn't attack. Instead, it closed its eyes like it was too tired to care. Kale slowly stepped closer. "Easy," he said, voice calm. "I won't hurt you." The creature opened one eye and let out a soft sound, something between a cry and a word. Kale knelt beside it and looked at the wound. He tore off a piece of his jacket and wrapped it around the leg. The beast didn't stop him. In fact, it leaned its head against his arm for a moment. Kale was shocked, but he didn't pull away. "I can't leave you here," he whispered. He looked around. No drones, no patrols. He had a shed behind the outpost. Maybe he could hide it there, just for the night. Kale built a simple stretcher from branches and cloth. It took him an hour to carry the beast back, his arms shaking. From the weight, once inside the shed, he made a soft bed of old blankets. The creature curled up and slept, chest rising and falling slowly. Kale sat down beside it, breathing hard. "What are you?" he asked, staring at the sleeping beast. It looked peaceful now, but its strange body and glowing skin made him nervous. He knew he should report it, but something told him not to. Later that night, Kale sat in his outpost and turned on the news. Feed. One headline caught his eye. Alien Empress seeks lost royal beast. His heart skipped a beat. He clicked on the story. The report said that during the last galactic battle, the Empress of the Zerari Empire had lost something valuable. A creature of great power. Believed to be a symbol of her rule, the Empire had sent search ships to nearby planets, including Earth 9. The creature was said to glow, to understand language, and to be loyal only to the Empress. Kale looked at the shed. Could it be the same one? No, it couldn't be, could it? He returned to the shed quietly. The beast was awake now. Looking at him with glowing eyes, it made another sound, this time clearer. It said one word. Soft but clear. Empress. Kale stepped back, shocked. You? You belong to her. He whispered. The beast didn't answer, but its eyes didn't look wild anymore. They looked intelligent. Suddenly, the lights flickered in the outpost. Kale's radio buzzed with static. Then a voice came through. A deep, alien voice. "Return the royal blood," it said, "or face the fire of the stars." Kale stared at the beast. It stared back, and in that moment, he knew his quiet life was over. Something was coming, something big, and it was coming for the beast in his shed. Asterisk. The sky above Earth 9 was not quiet anymore. Strange signals danced in the air, buzzing through. Satellites. Skipping across old war wires, they came from far beyond the stars, and they were not human. Kale sat at his desk, eyes fixed on the flickering screen, The radio crackled against short bursts of sound. Tones, and then silence. He checked the code. Twice, then again, it wasn't a natural signal. And it wasn't human military either. He looked toward the shed where the beast slept. It had not moved much since last night. Still weak, still breathing slow. But its eyes had followed him every time he entered, like it understood more than he did. Cale turned the volume down on the radio. The same alien voice had whispered again this morning. Return the royal blood. It said, "The Empress waits." Cale's hands had started to shake. Then, what am I doing? He whispered to himself. He wasn't a soldier anymore. He wasn't a hero. He was just a man guarding a forgotten outpost. But something was different now. Something had found its way into his life. And maybe, just maybe, it had chosen him outside. The wind picked up, and Cale stepped out to feel the air. Then he saw it. A bright blue trail in the sky, long and silent. It was not a meteor. His heart pounded. That was a landing trail. Someone or something was coming. He ran back inside and opened the old war files still hidden in the base system. A name popped up in the declassified list. Zirar Empire, once rulers of the outer planets, now silent. After the Great War, but not forgotten. He clicked on the file marked Royal Lineage, Ziari. There were images of alien creatures tall, with crystal skin and glowing eyes. Among them was a beast, standing beside the Empress. It looked just like the one sleeping in Cale's shed, his breath caught in his chest. It was her beast, or maybe her blood. He grabbed his old communicator and called an old contact, Mira. A retired war pilot, she answered in seconds. Her voice sharp, "Cale." "I thought you were dead. I found something," Cale said. "It might be connected to the Empress." There was a long silence on the line. Then Mira said, "I'll be there by night." Cale closed the communicator and stepped outside again. The beast was awake now, standing slowly. It walked to the edge of the shed and looked up at the sky. It made a strange humming sound, deep and soft. Cale watched as the clouds above began to twist. A shape formed in the sky, a glowing triangle. Then it vanished, like a ghost in the fog. Later, Cale heard a knock, not from the front door, but from the back of the shed. He walked around, slowly, weapon in hand, but it wasn't Mira. It was a boy from the nearby village. "Holding a drone, sir?" the boy said, eyes wide. This drone fell from the sky. Cale looked at the drone. It was smooth, black, and had no earth markings. He opened it and found a glowing chip inside. When he touched it, an image appeared in the air. A hologram of a massive alien throne. And on it sat a tall being. The Empress. She was not angry, but her voice was cold. "To the human who hides what is mine," she said, "you have 3 days." The image vanished. Cale felt his stomach twist. This was bigger than him, bigger than Earth, that night. The beast did something strange. It walked to Cale's radio, placed its glowing paw on it, and hummed. The radio came to life, but not with static, with music, a soft alien melody echoing through the room. It was sad, slow, and full of memory. Cale felt tears in his eyes and didn't know why. "Who are you?" he asked. The beast looked at him and whispered a single word. Viren. Then, for the first time, the beast used more words. "I belong." To her it said, slowly. Cale stepped back, heart racing. "You're not just a beast," he said. "You're her child." Suddenly, the ground outside shook. Lights appeared over the forest. 3 ships, dark and silent, flew low and fast, scanning the trees. They were searching. Cale pulled the curtain shut and whispered, "There. Already here." The forest was no longer safe. The trees stood tall, but shadows moved between them, silent, sharp, and not human. Cale watched from his window as the dark ships floated just above the ground. Their engines made no sound, but the air felt heavy. He turned to the beast Viren. She stood near the door, alert. Her silver fur glowing faintly in the dark. Her eyes were wide, glowing blue. She was no longer weak, no longer quiet. "They're hunting," Kale whispered. Viren nodded slowly. "Hunters." "For me," she said, her voice still slow, but clearer now. Kale knew this was more than just a search. This was a mission. The Empress had given the order. And now, her hunters had come. Kale moved quickly, packing supplies, water, food, power, cells, and a map chip. He opened a secret box under the floor and pulled out an old weapon. It was from the war, heavy and silent. He hoped he wouldn't have to use it. A knock at the door made him jump. He aimed his weapon and crept forward. Then a voice came through. "Come." Serious, familiar. "It's me." Mira. Kale opened the door fast and pulled her inside. She looked older, her face lined from years of flying and fighting, but her eyes were still sharp. "Nice pet," she said, looking at Viren. "She's not a pet," Kale said. "She's the daughter of the Empress." Myra blinked once, then twice. "You're joking?" She said, "I wish I was." Kale replied. Myra stepped closer and studied Viren. She tilted her head. "I remember creatures like this from the war," she said. "They were not just beasts. They were protectors, royal ones." Suddenly, the sky lit up. 3 red beams of light swept across the forest. They moved slowly, scanning everything. Kale pulled the curtain shut. "They're getting closer." Myra pulled out a small scanner and placed it near the wall. It beeped and glowed red. "They've marked this place," she said. "They know she's here." Viren growled low and placed a paw on the scanner. It stopped beeping. "Smart girl," Myra said, surprised. Kale looked at her. "She's learning fast." "We have to move," Myra said. "There's an old transport buried not far from here. I used it once during the war." Kale nodded. "Can it still fly?" "Only one way to find out," she said. They packed quickly. Viren followed silently. Her body strong now, her movement fast. She moved like a ghost, low, quiet, watching every tree. She was not afraid. As they walked through the woods, a sound buzzed overhead. A black drone, shaped like a claw, flew past them, scanning the ground. They hid under thick roots and waited. The drone stopped, hovered, then moved on. "That's a hunter drone," Mira whispered. "It scans minds too, not just heat." Viren looked up and whispered something strange. The drone suddenly sparked and fell from the sky. Kale stared. What did she do? "She spoke in their language," Mira said. "Turned it off from the inside." They reached a large hill covered in moss and rocks. Mira knelt and tapped a code on an old panel hidden under the roots. A hatch opened slowly. Inside was a small, round ship, dusty and dark. "This is it," she said. Kale helped her clear the vines and debris. Viren stepped in first, touching the walls. The ship lit up at her touch. "Looks like it remembers you," Mira said. They powered up the systems and checked the flight core. The ship groaned but came to life. "Still breathes," Myra smiled as they prepared to launch. The ground outside shook. They looked at the screen. 3 alien figures had arrived. Tall, thin, wrapped in black armor. Each carried a glowing spear. "They're not soldiers," Mira said. "They're bloodseekers." "What are those?" Kale asked. "Assassins for the Empress." The hunters walked slowly toward the ship. Viren stood at the door, her body glowing brighter. Kale tried to pull her back. "No," she said. "I must speak." She stepped out into the light. The hunters raised their weapons, but Viren spoke a single word. It was not in English. But in the old tongue of the Zerari, the hunters froze. One of them stepped back. "She lives," he said. "The royal line breathes." They lowered their weapons, then turned and vanished into the woods. No fight, no sound, just silence. Kale was speechless. You scared them off? No, Viren said. They were loyal. They remembered me. Mira fired the engines. Time to leave before others come who won't remember, she said. They flew into the sky, higher and higher. Earth slowly fading below, but they were not alone. Behind them, a large shadow moved in space, a ship bigger than anything Kale had ever seen. And at its center was the throne of the Empress herself. The stars looked peaceful from inside the small ship, but Kale could not relax. The giant cruiser following them was like a mountain in space. It moved slowly, with no sound, but its presence was heavy. Viren stood near the window, her eyes glowing soft blue. She is close, she said. Kale nodded. The Empress? He asked. Viren didn't answer. Instead, she touched the glass and closed her eyes. She is watching, she whispered. Watching through the ship. Mira was at the controls, checking energy levels and escape paths. This old bird can't outrun that cruiser, she said. We can hide, maybe, but not for long. Kale leaned against the wall. We need to know why the Empress wants her back. I was taken, Viren said suddenly. Both Mira and Kale turned to her. Viren sat down, curling her tail around her legs, not lost, not missing. I was stolen. Kale frowned. Stolen. By who? Viren looked at him with deep sadness. Humans, she said. Myra stood up, shocked. That can't be right, she said. We never touched the royal family during the war. Viren looked down. Not soldiers. Not orders. Greedy men looking for power. She raised her paw and touched the air. A small light formed and an image appeared. It showed a young version of Viren in a glass cage. Men in black suits surrounded her, studying her, taking samples. I was a child, she said. They said I was a weapon. The image changed Viren, screaming, glowing, breaking the glass, then running into a forest as alarms rang. I escaped, she said. I ran for days. Weeks. Then I slept. For a long time, Kale realized the truth. She had crashed on Earth 9 and stayed hidden for years. The Empress had searched, but no one believed the royal beast could survive the war, and Earth kept its secrets until... Now, Mira sat back down. This changes everything, she said. The Empress doesn't just want her beast. She wants justice. Viren looked at Kale. She thinks I'm broken. Changed, are you? Kale asked. Viren shook her head. I am still her daughter. But I have seen the other side. Kale checked the radar. The cruiser had stopped moving. It just floated in space. Waiting. They want us to come to them. He said. Myra sighed. It could be a trap. It could be forgiveness, Kale said. Or it could be war. Suddenly, the screen flashed. A message appeared, written in both human and alien text. You may speak. One of you. Come alone. Viren looked at Kale. It must be you, she said. Kale shook his head. I'm just a guard. Not a diplomat, but you cared, she said. You helped me. Even when you didn't know who I was, Mira added. You saw her as a life, not a weapon. They will listen to that. Kale put on the pressure suit. His hands shook. As he stepped into the small pod, Viren touched his arm before he left. She may look cold, she said, but she has a heart. The pod launched quietly. Floating toward the giant ship, it docked with a soft click. The doors opened slowly. Kale stepped into silence. The hallway was tall and bright. Walls made of glowing crystal. He walked slowly, each step echoing like thunder. Then he saw her. The Empress stood alone in a chamber made of stars. She was tall, her skin like glass, her eyes like galaxies. She wore no crown, but her presence was enough. Kale bowed, unsure of what to say. You cared for her. The Empress said. Her voice was calm, deep, and powerful. I did, Kale said. I didn't know who she was. But you helped her anyway. Kale looked up. She's not a beast, he said. She's a child. And she remembers you. The Empress turned away. I searched for her. She said, for years, I searched every world, every ship. No one believed she was alive. They took her. Kale said, humans took her. The Empress nodded slowly. I know. She raised her hand. A new image appeared, Viarn, as a baby. Resting beside her throne, she was born under the twin moons of Zerara. Her birth was a sign of peace, but the war came, she said, and peace was lost. Kale stepped forward. You have her back now, he said. What will you do with Earth? The Empress stared at him. Your world took from me, she said. But your people also gave her care. Kale waited, his heart pounding. The Empress walked toward him. She will decide, she said. Her voice matters more than mine. Now, Kale returned to the ship. Viren waited, eyes full of questions. She wants to speak with you, Kale said. Viren stood tall. It is time, she said. The stars stretched like silver dust across the black sky. Kale stood by the window of the small ship, watching the massive alien cruiser grow smaller behind them. He had just returned from speaking with the Empress, but his thoughts were heavy. Something was not right. Viren sat in silence beside the control panel. She had not said a word since Kale came back. Her tail curled around her body, and her eyes were distant. She looked like she was thinking about 1,000 things at once. Myra sat across from them, adjusting the ship's energy flow. This ship can fly, she said. But not for long. The power core, unstable. And if we push too far, it might explode. Kale nodded, still looking at Viren. Did she tell you what she plans to do? Mira asked. Kale took a deep breath. She said Viren will decide Earth's future. He replied, she believes her daughter must choose peace or revenge. Viren stood and walked to the center of the room. I don't want war. She said, her voice quiet, but I cannot forget what was done to me. Kale looked at her with soft eyes. You don't have to forget, he said. But maybe you can forgive. Suddenly, an alarm beeped on the ship's radar. Myra jumped to the controls. We've got company, she said. 3 enemy ships appeared on the screen, dark, fast and armed. They're not Empress ships, Viren said, stepping closer. They are scavengers. Kale clenched his jaw. Pirates, he said. They smell opportunity. The ships moved quickly, circling them like hungry wolves. We can't outrun them, Myra warned. They'll rip this ship apart. Kale looked at Viren. Can you do something? Like before. Viren closed her eyes and touched the control panel. It lit up under her paw, glowing brighter and brighter. Then she whispered in her old language low, powerful words. The ship began to shake. What is she doing? Mira shouted. She's waking it up, Kale said. The ship's body changed, plates moved. Engines roared louder. It wasn't just a transport ship. It was a Guardian-class vessel. Old tech from the war. Hidden under rust and dust, Viren opened. Her eyes now glowing like stars. This ship was mine, she said. It knows me. The Guardian ship turned fast, dodging the first pirate blast. Mira took the pilot's seat, hands moving fast across the screen. Hang on, she shouted. Kale grabbed the rail, feeling the force pull him sideways. Laser fire lit up the stars, red and white bolts crossing their path. Viren raised her paw and fired energy from the ship's hidden weapons. One pirate ship exploded in a bright flash. The others pulled back. Surprised, they didn't expect a fight, Kale said. They expected prey, Mira replied. The Guardian ship chased one attacker, blasting its engines with a clean shot. Only one pirate ship remained, but then something worse appeared. A giant gate opened in space, a warp gate. From it came a long, dark ship with red lights and a deadly hum. It was a rebel destroyer, Viren growled. They are not part of my mother's empire, she said. They want me for power. Myra looked at the control panel. We can't fight that thing. Kale looked at Viren. Is there another way? Viren nodded. There is one gate. It leads to the core planets, but it's unstable, Myra warned. It could break us apart. Kale placed a hand on Viren's shoulder. I trust you, he said. Viren's voice was calm. Then hold on. She entered the coordinates. The ship spun quickly, heading straight toward a glowing gate near the edge of the system. The destroyer chased them, firing huge beams of energy. The ship shook violently. Mira screamed over the alarms. We're burning up. We're almost there. Viren shouted. The warp gate lit up like a sun as they entered. Kale felt everything stretch and twist. The stars became rivers, and his body felt like smoke. Then silence. The ship stopped shaking. They were inside the core system of the Zerari Empire. Giant planets floated ahead, surrounded by peaceful moons. A golden station appeared on the radar of the Palace of Light. They had arrived. The Empress's voice echoed on the comms. You have done well, daughter. Viren closed her eyes. I bring truth, not war. Kale looked out at the shining world ahead. He had never seen anything so beautiful, but he knew. This wasn't the end. This was just the beginning. The Palace of Light stood like a giant crown floating in space. Its golden towers rose high, glowing softly in the dark sky. Dozens of smaller ships circled around it like guards, silent and strong. Kale had never seen anything like it. The guardian ship slowly moved toward the palace. Inside, Viren stood. Still, her body calm, but her eyes filled with emotion. She was returning home after years of being lost, but this home was not the same anymore. Myra brought the ship into docking mode. She glanced at Kale. You sure you want to go in there? She asked. Kale nodded slowly. I have to, he said. I started this, and I want to see it through. A soft voice came through the comm system. You are welcome, daughter of Zerara, it said. The Empress waits. The ship door opened with a gentle hiss. Warm light poured in. Viren stepped forward first. Kale followed, unsure what would happen next. They walked through smooth halls made of crystal and gold. Every step echoed like a song. Tall aliens in silver armor watched silently as they passed. No one spoke, but everyone stared at Viren. She held her head high. But Kale noticed the way her claws twitched. She was nervous, maybe even afraid. But she didn't stop. Finally, they reached the throne room. It was wide and full of stars. The ceiling was open, showing the galaxy above, and at the center, on a glowing platform, stood the Empress. She was tall, with skin like diamond and eyes like moving nebulae. Her cloak shimmered with light from 1,000 worlds she didn't wear. A crown, but she didn't need one. Her power was clear. Viren walked forward slowly. The room was silent. No guards moved, no sounds were made. Only the beating of Kale's heart filled his ears. The Empress stepped down from the platform. She stopped in front of Viren and stared into her eyes. Viren looked back without blinking. Then the Empress spoke. You survived, she said softly. Viren nodded. I did. You were taken, the Empress said, her voice shaking just slightly. I searched every star. I escaped, Viren said. I lived with pain. But I also learned. The Empress reached out and touched Viren's cheek. Kale held his breath. Then the Empress pulled her daughter close. She hugged her. Gently, but with all the strength of a mother who had almost lost everything. You are my light, the Empress whispered, and you brought peace. Kale looked away, not wanting to break the moment. But then the Empress turned to him. You, she said, human who saved my blood. Kale stepped forward. I didn't know who she was. He said, but I knew she mattered. You helped her. The Empress said, You hid her, fed her, protected her. Even when you were in danger. Kale nodded. She was hurt, he said. She needed someone. And I couldn't walk away. The Empress studied him for a long moment. Long ago, she said, your kind broke trust with us. Greedy men took what was not theirs, but now, she added, one man gave back what was lost. She looked at the royal guards and gave a simple command. Let Earth be free, she said. There will be no war. Kale exhaled, not realizing he had been holding his breath. Peace had been chosen, not by armies, but by a lost girl and a broken guard. Viren turned to her mother. There is more, she said. There are others like me, lost or hiding, afraid. The Empress looked surprised. You are sure? Vera nodded. I felt them through the stars. They called to me. The Empress stepped back. Then we must find them, she said. Bring them home. She looked at Kale again. You have a choice. She said, you may return to Earth as a hero, or stay with us and help rebuild what was broken. Kale thought for a long moment. He looked at Viren. She gave him a small smile. A smile that said, thank you, and don't go. I'll stay, he said. There's still work to do? The Empress nodded. Then you are no longer just human, she said. You are now part of Zurara. Lights danced above them. The throne room filled with soft music. The galaxy spun outside the crystal walls. And for the first time in many years, hope was born again. The halls of the Palace of Light were quiet in the early hour. A soft hum came from the walls, like the building itself was breathing. Kale walked through the long corridors, his footsteps slow and careful. He had not slept since the Empress gave him her offer to return to Earth or to stay here on the edge of the stars. He had seen war, pain, and truth, but he had also seen something he never expected. He had seen healing. Viren sat alone in the garden dome. The stars above looked like diamonds scattered on black glass. Her fur caught the starlight, glowing. Silver and blue, she looked calm, but Kale could feel her worry. He walked to her side and sat down. You can feel them, can't you? He asked. Viren nodded slowly. They are far, but their minds are crying. Others like you. Kale asked. Yes, she whispered. Taken, hidden, forgotten. She looked at him, her eyes soft but tired. They don't know who they are. She said, they think they are weapons. Monsters, but they are not, Kale said. They are like you live. Thinking, full of heart. The Empress arrived soon after, her presence quiet but strong. She walked toward them with hands behind her back. I have ordered a search. She said, our best ships will find the lost children, but they will be afraid. Viren said, they will run. The Empress nodded. Then we must send someone they trust. She looked at Kale. You, she said simply. Kale blinked. In surprise, me. You are not Zurari, she said. But you are no longer just human either. You saw Viren as more than her power. You can help others feel the same. Kale looked at Viren. T saw the hope in her face. I don't know if I can, he said. The Empress stepped closer. You already did, later that day. Kale stood before the Council of Zurari elders. They were old, wise, and quiet, but their eyes watched every move. Kale stood straight, his voice calm. I am not a ruler, he said. I am not a soldier anymore. But I believe life matters no matter the shape or skin, and I will help find your lost. The council agreed. Kale was given a title warden. Of the lost, Viren would fly with him. Together, they would guide the search. Their new ship was unlike any other. It was smooth, fast, shaped like a bird in flight. Built with the mind of Viren and the technology of the Empire, it responded to thought, to emotion, and to purpose. Before leaving, Kale made one final transmission to Earth. He stood before the camera, Viren beside him. To the people of Earth, he said, you once took something that didn't belong to you. But from that mistake came a second chance. This is Viren, child of the Empress, protector. Of life, she forgave you. Now you must choose who you will become. The message went across human colonies in seconds. Some feared it, some denied it, but others watched and listened. And for the first time, they saw aliens not as enemies, but as people. The ship launched quietly. Kale felt the power under his feet, but he was calm. Viren smiled beside him. Where do we start? She asked. Anywhere, Kale replied. Wherever the lost are, they flew into dark space. Past stars, comets, and ruins of forgotten wars, they found a cold planet where a young beast hid in ice. They sang to her, and she followed. They visited a mining colony where a boy had grown up with silver eyes and glowing hands. They told him his truth, and for the first time, he cried. Every soul they found was a piece of Viren's past, but also a piece of the Empire's future. And Kale stood beside each one, reminding them they were not tools, but beings with names. One night, Viren asked him, "Do you miss Earth?" Kale looked at the stars and thought for a moment. "I miss the trees," he said. "I miss the quiet rain. Will you go back someday?" Kale smiled. "Maybe," he said, "but not today." There were still more voices out there, more hearts waiting in the dark, more children of the stars who needed to be found. And Kale would not stop until they were home. In the end, he had made his final choice, not to fight, not to run, but to heal. And through that choice, he became more than human. He became legend.